Hey everybody, this is Caracelo. I want to talk to you today about easy access art making. So the idea of art as a language of the soul is about expressing ourselves and finding our way through materials. So today I'm going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about painting as access and overlaying images with paint as access. So two techniques and a bunch of ideas with that. So when I first came back to art in my life, after many, many years of not creating in form, I had no idea what to do. And, when I just painted for the sake of painting, this is what it looked like. And I didn't exactly know how I felt about that. I didn't know what I was doing. But the one thing I want to say about art is it's never about the product. It's about the process. And all of the creative ways that I integrate and explore mediums is always for the process. Sometimes I love the product, sometimes I love the finished piece. But more often I find out things about who I am, what I'm doing, what I need, want, and desire by being in the process. And I have learned that accessing is easy. So when I first started painting, what I did was I painted with one color and one surface. So let me show you my first painting. This started out black, and I painted and painted and painted. I believe in choosing your brush by touching your skin. You actually feel the brush into the surface of your skin and into the bones, into your very being state. And your brush, the bristles of your brush, how they move across a surface matters. So choosing a brush that you love, that calls to you, that feels good, is really, really important. And so that means you can go to your local art store or craft store and you can touch your skin with brushes and choose them. You're going to find that you have your favorites, and that matters. It matters how you feel. It matters what materials you use. I'm also a big believer in easy paint. Anything from the inexpensive little bottles to the more expensive liquids. So color. I would choose color first. So when I started painting, I was going through a lot. I had been through a lot, and I was unwinding myself back to the source. And painting for me was a doorway. Now painting is a somatic engagement. So when you paint, you are connecting through your body, whether it's big strokes, little strokes, and really, really get this. This is about our body dancing with material. So think about taking your brush with no paint and getting used to it, getting used to the movement, getting used to what it is to hold this brush in your hand and to have this brush be an extension of your body. So understand that the brush serves as an extension of the body, and that one of the most brilliant ways to access is to be in movement with. So be in movement with. So let's try this. So taking a surface, any surface, and I think, The nice thing about not knowing what you're doing and figuring it out as you go is anything goes. So let's just see how this feels. How does it feel in your body to move this paint around? How does it feel to touch and actually massage the paint into the surface? Think about this. Think about what you're doing when you do this. You're touching, you're opening your senses, you're connecting and accessing. So this is something where you'll want to really feel yourself in your body and connect to the color, the form, the surface, the movement. You're going to want to play with how it feels. You may want to notice how it is to drip, to, bring water in, just to open up those channels. Consider what it is that you're doing when you're working with materials. And remember, paint can be layered. You don't have to be committed or married to your final project. So be willing to play. I would also say that it's really, really fascinating, interesting to take pictures of your pieces as they're evolving. So when I was first working with my black painting, I painted with black, only black, for a week, every single day. I painted and painted and painted and connected with myself, connected with form. Painting with one color. What happens when you paint and paint and paint with one color? From different perspectives, in different ways, you come back in, you paint with the same color over and over. You find out things that you wouldn't know. And you start seeing things. So I really see a pretty clear sort of a lotus that comes here. And my leaf design, I often paint leaves and vines. These are forms. These are forms that we know. This is the spiral. These are symbolic references. They're really embedded in our very soul. So notice that will happen, that will evolve. And I love painting on easy objects. This is pizza cake round. And I love using these as my palette and then keeping them and painting into them and collaging on them. And I'm a big believer, paint on paper plates. Use paper plates. Use palettes that then are reusable. And I love these forms. And you can see here, I've created sort of an atmosphere and then I've put a collage piece on top. So be willing to just play and use really easy access materials. And then what happens when you want to come in and make a change? So here, what does it feel like to me when I create something different? And painting on top of images is so much fun. If you've never done that, you've got to try. Because look, something else, it's like things happen. And all of a sudden you feel something differently in your body. And you realize, oh, this is not about the product. This is about the process. This is about the engagement. This is about the movement. So be willing to play. Be willing to explore. Be willing to make a mess and ruin things and find out things that you didn't know. That's really what I love so much about process painting and painting as a language of my soul, that it helps me to literally open. Remember, it's the somatics. We are engaged. The paint and the process and the materials and the brush are an extension of who we are. And we need to know the things that paint allows us to access. So, here's some other examples of, painting with form. So embedding little, tissue and paper right into the surface and working with texture. I mean, this is just something that you can just sort of do almost in between things, and just painting into the structures of this hive and exploring what it is, my personal connection with a bee, and being in relationship with it and making this environment. I love working with environment. It is such a wonderful access point for me in terms of a metaphor. And painting is a way to go into an environment. But if you're feeling like, well, I can't paint this. And look, each one of my bee hive sections is completely different. I'm not a perfect painter. I'm not a technician. I am an explorer. So I love that, I can give myself the freedom and relax into my comfort. So one of the ways that can be really, really wonderful to play with this idea is take an image, paint into the image. So here's an image of a cosmos. Just take this out of the magazine that I have. So what if I want to paint into an image? I mean, really, this is such a brilliant and easy access way to then work with the image and explore what am I highlighting? What am I focusing in on? What does my body want me to do? What does that mean? What's going on inside? What are my thoughts doing? How are my thoughts following my hand, and what part of my body is actually opening? Do I feel this more in my belly? Am I stuck in my brain? Am I hearing a lot of critic voices? Where does my critic live in this environment? What do I do with all of this stuff that happens, this stuff that is so much a part of me, but is not the whole of me? How does it feel when I turn it over? What else is going on here? So there's so many ways to play with this. I love doing this kind of work in very dim light and turning it a lot. And the reason for that is because I actually don't want to know what I'm doing. I want to bypass my thinking mind, the critic. So be willing to play, and then let these things live side by side. Let them wait for you so you can prepare things. What about preparing pages in a big art journal? So what I do with my art journals is I prepare my pages. What does that mean? Well, let's find one. Let's find one that I've prepared and not painted into. So here's some that I've collaged onto. But then there's some that they're kind of waiting. This one Has lots of layers. I've painted onto this page maybe 4 or 5 times. So, you can just paint and paint and paint surfaces. Here's one that's just beginning. So this is just a preparation page. I love starting my pages with white. Really veiled white, really dreamy white. And you may find, oh, I want to paint onto magazines, or I want to paint on top of something. Try a really dreamy white. And try different brushes, because different brushes will give you different effects. Try different paint. Have a couple of whites, a liquid white, a thick white. Just try different qualities of white. Then you can go in and, try different paint techniques. What about painting with your eyes closed? I love doing my first surface as a preparation by setting intention and scribbling down a word or two. It's a way of unpacking my mind when I first meet surface. So some people say, embed a prayer or an intention in your surface. And sometimes I'm just unpacking and leaving bits of myself underneath in the original layers. And then I'm working in ways that are really going to open me. So one of the best openings is blindfold painting. Just taking your hands and connecting. I work with a wonderful artist who is a masseuse and a Qigong artist, a Qigong master, And so the way of connecting with paint as form is through the body. It's an energetic connection. And leaving bits of ourselves behind is a way of releasing and setting intention that doesn't need a lot of forethought or words. So releasing and then connecting is a way to awaken, but it's preparatory. It gives us a sense of entering into relationship with. So I look at layers as different ways of being engaged or connecting. For me, that's really important. It's part of my process. So I start by leaving bits of myself, then connecting, maybe with a blindfold painting. I also believe in quick fire creative. So creating for 5 or 10 minutes, which maybe means setting an egg timer for yourself, lighting a candle, making some kind of a ritual around, even if you don't have time, making time. But quick fire creating. So you can prepare a page in 5 minutes. You can do a layer. You can write some words and take pictures of them and then layer on top of them. And do that releasing and know that it's going to wait for you. So a page like this that has several layers, then, it's waiting for something to happen, and I may not come back to it for months. So what happens? You can see behind me. It's not only pages in a journal. It's not only canvases or cardboard. It's paper. It's all kinds of things. And what do you do with all of that? Well, I string stories. That's what I do with it. I leave things and let them call me back. This has several layers of paint and embedded messages, and now there's some collage pieces. It's still not done. It's just waiting for me. It's waiting for me to come back. What about found objects? So painting and layering onto found objects. So this is an old file box that I found at a garage sale, and I love it. It says, East Light, made in England. It's a lock spring box, and it has one little portal here, one access point. So this is, I just started painting on it, and it feels a little risky sometimes to paint on objects you love. Even I feel like, oh, I don't want to mess it up. But it's like I'm so in love with process that I trust that whatever happens is going to really guide me and hold me and intrigue me and excite me. Even when I am working with emotion and feelings that are not pleasurable, I feel myself cracking open. I feel myself connecting and accessing those parts of myself that are ready. I believe in synchronicity. What is ready to appear will. What you are not ready to face will not come. This is something, having worked in this way, this kind of process and expressive and transformative arts for such a long time. I know it and I trust it. I didn't always. I had a lot of fear going in to even working with materials in the beginning. You know, cutting carefully and making sure that I wasn't going to mess something up. And then I realized, I love this image. I have to keep it. I can't be willing to, mess it up. Oh no, what if I ruin it? What if I tear it? And then I felt what it was to tear in my body, and I realized it's not about the image, it's about what's happening inside of me when I paint, when I collage, when I access myself, when I open to what it is that I'm doing. Here's, a preparation, just integrating a word. There's a lot of layering of paint and form and dripping and techniques and overpainting. There's that overpainting. Drawing on top of things and, tearing edges. Feeling my way through. So we come back to this, and what happens? What happens when we leave it and come back to it and say, what's happening? What's happening inside? So close your eyes when you're in the middle of process. Remember to bring yourself out of your head into your other brains. We have a heart brain and a belly brain. This is now scientifically proven that our intuitive mind is where we connect. It's not always by connecting the dots and connecting the information to the technique and seeing our way through the technique. Technique is wonderful. I work with artists and non-artists alike. Technique is a wonderful thing, but if it traps us in our body, if it traps us in our head, if it traps us, if we find that the critic is so loud that we can't access, that we can't connect, that we're not willing to go in and get messy, then I think we're losing something. So for me, this is easy access creative. Remember, does it count? Does it count to paint onto paper plates? Yes, it counts. Does it count to, explore with one color? Yes, it counts. Does it count to do overpainting and paint onto images? Yes, it counts. If it matters, if it connects you to yourself, if you find out more than you knew before, if you create landscapes and environments that you love, if you explore shapes and forms and layers, if you find yourself entering into the art making, like you're entering into a doorway, if you find yourself entering into yourself through materials, then it counts, it matters. So, easy access paint, easy access painting onto objects, form, using materials around the house. Paint with images if you like. Explore using a variety of techniques. Find the brush that you love. Extend yourself with materials and come back home to who you are. This is Kat Caracelo, and thank you. And this is serious play, integrative art making process, more important than product.